we are recording.
Cool. Yeah, just saying, firstly, thank you very much for inviting me on. I really appreciate it. And I say it's really nice to hear like each of your like backgrounds in photography. And I've been doing this a long time. And one of the things that is very apparent, especially in weddings as well, is that it can be quite isolated in a way. So it's really good to have that community around you, just even for, you know, support and to share photographs and things like that. I think it's really good. So like, good on you all for doing that. So yeah, it's entirely up to you all how you want to, like, if you want to ask me any questions or what you're most interested in. I'll give you a bit of background to me then. So I'm a wedding photographer. I shot my first wedding in 2006, so it's quite a while ago now. And that was on a DSLR. So I never actually did any real photography as such on film. I did do photography at college, but not like Sophie say, not in a proper degree. It was part of an art and design course, so it was a very small element, and I played around with film. Film didn't really grab me. I had loved digital, and I'm talking like back when the first digital cameras came out. It's like I remember the first camera that I used was a 1 megapixel Kodak camera, about 96-ish or something, and I loved the fact you could take a picture and see it straight away, and that was what grabbed me. Film never did it for me. And then I went to university, separate away from photography, got what I call a proper job in an office, and it was in, I say, 2006 that somebody I was working with knew that I was into photography. And at that stage I was just taking photographs purely for fun it was a, if anybody remembers this, it was a Nikon D70, a 6 megapixel DSLR, one of the first ones. And yeah, she knew that I was into that, and I would just take pictures of the cat and landscapes, not only for fun. And she just said, would you be interested in photographing my wedding? I said, yeah, but I have no clue what I'm doing. But she was happy with that. And in fact, if I didn't do her wedding, she wasn't even going to have a photographer at all. So it sort of took the pressure off. So I did that wedding. When I thought it went well, I mean, if I look back now, the pictures were awful, but like at the time I was quite pleased. And then luckily for me, she had a friend at that wedding who was also going to get married, who also didn't have a photographer. And then she asked me, would you be interested in doing mine? And I did. And before you know it, I was sort of had 3 or 4 weddings under my belt without even trying, not because my work was good, just because people say, oh, Neil's got a big camera. I'm sure some people on the call may have been asked to do this because you've got a big camera, that sort of thing. And that's how it started. And then I really enjoyed it, so I started doing a bit more, and then put a little advert out on a wedding directory and got some more bookings, and it started to pick up slowly. I mean, I still would say the technical term for my work then was rubbish, but it was, at least at the time, it was sort of, bride and groom seemed happy enough. And then I went full time in 2010, and I've been full time ever since. And then as time's gone on, I've sort of developed my style, and I basically now concentrate on 2 forms of photography when I'm photographing a wedding. One is 90%, I would say, of the way that I photograph a wedding day is what we would call documentary. So the traditional form of wedding photography is a lot of stage setup shots, and I do that, but I concentrate very much so on capturing the emotion of the day and the story of the day, virtually having no interaction at all with my couples. So what I'm trying to do is then show them pictures that make them feel like they were back in that day, rather than thinking, oh, that's when Neil said do this, that's when Neil said do that. So I'm trying to be very observant rather than telling the story myself and trying to tell the couples what I think their wedding should be. I'm being much more reactive to it. And that's the average wedding day for me will be, say, 12 hours. And I would say 11 of those hours I'm just in the background, just taking shots. And if it is okay, Jude, I'll just share some of my pictures as I'm waffling on.
You should be able to.
Yes, I can. Yeah, thank you. Just let me just open. So I've got 2 folders here. One is what I've called moment. One second, just let me open these. And they basically are completely natural shots. So let me just actually open in this software. Sorry, one second. I say this for me is the vast majority of the day this is how I cover the day, which I say is with no interaction at all with the couple. Oh, it's not coming up on the right. So I should be better at this because I've done this a few times. Share. There it is. Right. So this is just a random selection of images. Hope you can see that. And I'll just fly through them pretty quickly. So these basically are all completely
That's beautiful.
natural. And this is what I'm trying. These are the shots I try and I'd sort of judge myself after a wedding day on how well I've caught the moments, because these are the shots that I think will be, I don't want to say timeless, but when couples look back, that these are the ones that will have real meaning to them rather than the ones that I've set up. But just to sort of go on slightly on a bit of a tangent in terms of how I run my business, it's very hard to sort of promote yourself as a purely documentary photographer, because these shots often, when you talk about trying to attract future couples, are not the shots that couples maybe think that they want. So I then also like put a lot of effort into taking portraits, which I'll show in a second. And it's those portraits that I more or less promote myself with. And then if a couple are interested in hiring me for their wedding day, then I will talk to them about the importance of moments and documentary, because even though the majority of the images that I show on my Instagram and various other places on social media are portraits, the vast majority of images that I take is documentary. But I say the portraits are almost like what I always say, I think, sell me and get couples interested in my work. But then it's the documentary shots that I tend to take on the majority of a wedding day. Mm-hmm. And I say these are just all taken completely naturally. I use two cameras. One has a 35mm lens on and one has an 85mm lens. And I very rarely change lenses. I used to, back in the day when I was first starting, I'd have different lenses, 7200, 2470, 1424, 50mm prime, and it was just too many, because I then soon realized that for me to get the image that I wanted to get, I need to be quicker and lighter and react quicker. And I do that by limiting the equipment that I have. So I say now I'm just 35 and 85, and these are almost exclusively, that one isn't, having said that, I've got to say, a natural light. So I'm not adding in any artificial lighting. This is completely at odds to the portraits, which I'll show you in a second. So these are the shots I enjoy, that I get a real like sense of I've done well if I can capture nice moments. Because I think these are the images that couples are going to look back on in years to come and will stand the test of time. But these are not the images that I find I get me the initial bookings.
That's interesting.
Oh, they're fabulous.
Oh, it's very kind. Thank you.
The emotion that's coming out of them is amazing.
Yeah, it's very kind. And I also love the job as well. You know, when you see things like this, like in front of you, like I feel something. I feel like, wow, look at what I'm looking at here. Like,
yeah,
you know, it just makes me love the job. It feels like such an honor sometimes to get these moments. And you know, don't get me wrong. What you're looking at here is probably the past 2 or 3 years work. There's a lot of work gone into this in the build up. Do you know what I mean? Like this, say I've been doing this for like 16 years now. But it's looking out for the moments. And this is when I'm sort of, I do quite a lot of teaching other wedding photographers just starting, and I'll try and emphasize to them the importance of moment. And that isn't just a question of taking shots without being seen. It's a question of you have to build up that relationship with your couple to get you access. Because a shot like that, for example, that's on a 35mm. I'm stood within arms. Well, I can't do that now. Yeah. I'm stood literally within but as I always say to couples, no one is ever looking at the camera. And that's just the way that I act on a wedding day, the way that I will communicate with my couples. Like this is a groom, for example, like reading a letter given to him by his wife on the morning of the wedding. And I'm literally kneeling in front of him with an 85mm lens facing up, but again, because of the relationship I've already built up with my couples, they are completely at ease with me being there. And we've already discussed how I work. You know, you're going to see me and I might be quite close, but ignore me. And I say, and because on the wedding day, they're so excited, there's so much emotion, the friends are there, the family's there, the adrenaline's going. I said, you will ignore me. It'd be totally different if I was just in a room with them with a camera. That'd be weird. But on a wedding day, I can get away with it. And then that's when the best stuff happens. So all I ever say to my couples is your only job is to enjoy yourself. Forget it that I'm even there. And I say, I think when they get into that mindset, which is quicker than you probably think, because it's a wedding day, that's when I feel as though I get like my best stuff. So that's at the moment. And I'll just go through the portraits, and then jump in at any point if I'm waffling too much or if you have any questions. Let me just open these.
To me, that shows real confidence in what you're doing, and that that you're with your people your people skills, and that they are happy for you to be that close to them whilst you're taking photographs.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that I think is easy to overlook, because a lot of people think wedding photography is quite easy, if you like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's the hardest job in the world by any means, but most of it actually, weird it sounds, isn't actually for a wedding photographer. It's not really how to say this. It's just as important to be able to have people skills, and basically the skill is trying to get people very relaxed in your company, in your presence very quickly, because it's for the bride and groom that they've known me for a while. They tend to book me a year, 2 years in advance. We'll have a few meetings. We speak regularly. So they have a relationship with me before the day itself, but the parents don't, the siblings don't, the bridal party don't. So it's a question of being like, almost like a social chameleon where you've got to just fit in. But I find that can, and again, that's something that just comes with experience, how to be and to get that access. So I'll show you that. Yeah, of course. Jump in.
Why have you put that one into this category of portraiture rather than in the other category?
This one you're looking at now, is this one? Do you see like candles and things?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's set up. It's completely set up.
That's what I mean. You set that up, yeah.
Yes. So every photograph that you see now is what I call a portrait, which is me literally setting everything up. So there's nothing natural about this at all. Every shot that you just saw a minute ago was completely on stage and things. But this is this. So if I think of a wedding day for me being 12 hours, I then pinch my couples for, say, as I always say, like 2 15-minute sessions, if you like. One tends to be in the natural light in the middle of the day, and one is in the evening where I get a bit more creative with my speed lights, and I have, which I'll show you now, a few sort of tricks when I try and create quite creative and unique portraits. So the portraits, I probably spend about half an hour in total across 2 sessions on a wedding day, and the other half an hour for group shots. And the other thing to say is, I take lots of group shots on a wedding day. Whatever the couple want, I will take. So lots of sort of family setup shots. I also take detail shots of the dress, of the shoes, of the ring and things like that. But I never show those shots publicly, just because, again, because I'm marketing myself as a documentary photographer who also takes creative portraits. I don't want couples to book me because they want lots of group shots. A lot of the way that I set my business up is to try and attract the couples that are best for me. And so I want them to look at the images and like the images that I'm showing you now, because that means that they will then give me that on the day, if that makes sense. So if I show lots of shots of flowers and nice shoes on the windowsill and a dress hung up, and people might think, oh, I really like that picture, I want to book Neil. That's not what I want to be taking on a wedding day, because ultimately I don't think those shots have any long-term value. It's the moments that have the value. Yeah. So that's why it's a lot of the way that I market myself on social media is just to show the images I want couples to feel a connection with. Yeah. So all these shots here are set up portraits. Some of them are not at real wedding days as well, I must admit. I do a lot of training, as I say. So some of them are style shoots and workshops. So this one, for example, I mean, it's all set up by me, but this is me training other photographers. That wasn't a real wedding day. Neither was this one. That one was. And a lot of, that shouldn't be in there. Ignore that one. Oh, no, come. So, oh, I don't know why that one's in there. That because that's the moment. I couldn't set that one up.
No.
But these are the sort of shots that I enjoy taking. So then they're not what you would call standard portraits that you might expect when you think of a wedding photographer. I do take those shots, I call them like the mantelpiece shots. Bride and groom stood together with their arm around each other, smiling at the camera. I take them, again, I don't show them because I don't want to be booked for those. I want to be booked for, sorry, oh, it's all messed up. Sorry, 1 second. I put them all into the same folder.
Sorry to laugh.
Let me just close this.
Yeah.
1 second.
These are amazing, though.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you. Oh, I've really made a mess up of this. I tell you what, I did put them into, I'm going to have to open a separate folder because I've somehow lost them. So bear with me. Oh, this is where Zoom is difficult. I can't drop them into my photo mechanic because, no, I can. Right. So hopefully you'll see a lot of these are going to be the same, but there'll be other bits and bobs in here. But do you see the same one you saw before again now?
Yeah.
Cool. So I'll just fly through these. So yeah, these again are set up. But I say, I try to take images which I think will help me stand out. Again, that's like a business decision. And it's also twofold as well, if I'm being honest, because these shots are hopefully going to attract the couples.
Oh,
thank you.
You're going too quick. That's beautiful.
Hopefully these shots are going to attract the couples that like these shots, but also, again, just to give you a bit of background about my business is probably now, up until 5 years ago, it was completely wedding photography. It still is, but I would say I'm now 60% weddings, 40% education, if you like, workshops and things like that. And it's these images that other photographers are interested in ignore that. That's due to a video that I've just made. I've proven a point by just taking out the couple. But yeah, these images also other photographers who are getting into wedding photography are attracted to. So they also, so when I'm just on my Instagram feed, for example, is designed probably more so to attract other wedding photographers. Oh, this is, again, shouldn't have been in here, but this is the behind the scenes of a shot that's not there. This one. So that shot you're looking at there was taken there. So, and this one is the behind the scenes of that one. So yeah, so like if you look at my Instagram feed, for example, it's a lot of shots like this because this is what I want. This is what I say my style is online, and it attracts couples, but it also attracts photographers who say, oh, you know, have you got any workshops coming up and things like that? And so say it's like it's a weird sort of, again, ignore that first one. It's a weird sort of situation in a funny way that I'm sort of trying to attract two sets of people. One is bride and grooms, the other being photographers that are interested in developing their own skills. I also call it off-camera flash skills, which is a lot of what this is, where I don't, for any of you that aren't aware, off-camera flash is basically what the name suggests. It's where you take a speed light off your camera and then you can reposition that speed light to give you more creative effects. This is with a prism. So this is natural light on the bride. I put a prism in front of the camera and you get that sort of weird reflection. Wow. These are taken with crystals, which I've got.
Beautiful.
Thank you. It's very kind. So this is based, again, on a 35mm lens with this crystal in front of the camera.
Okay.
Gives you like this weird effect. That's fairy lights. The behind the scenes may be in this. Yeah, there it is. This was in Hong Kong. So I put my camera right up against that sort of like string of fairy lights, which gives you that. And use a flash, as you can see on the left-hand side, to light the couple. Again, another crystal, natural light. So this is very much like almost like the hypocrisy of my style, because I'm saying to couples, I don't want to be involved. I want to be in the background, enjoy yourself, ignore me, except for that half an hour when I want to get a bit more involved and sort of get a bit more creative. All these shots as well are done in camera. That is a little trick where you put a phone or a mirror underneath your camera lens. Again, I don't know if you can see me at the minute or if it's just sharing my screen, but I have this makeup mirror in my bag.
Oh yeah.
And then I put if you do that, then it reflects the bottom half, the top half of the image, which is how I've taken this one.
Ah,
Good grief.
interesting.
Yeah, so I enjoy experimenting, and a lot of these shots come about through me just thinking, what happens if, and I'll just play around. But again, because I'm showing these images, what I find is, again, this is something that happens over a period of time, but couples get confidence in you. So like this couple, this wasn't on a wedding day, this was an engagement shoot for a couple before their wedding day, but they don't mind going out in the rain. Because they've seen my rain shot. So because sometimes I've even had couples wanting it to rain on a wedding day because they feel like, oh, we know that you can get us some nice images if that happens. So
Oh, beautiful.
again, another one with my phone.
So clever.
Oh, that's the raw file of that one. So these are all over the show, and these are shots that I take. I used to start doing these shots for me, just for fun, and then again, about 3 years ago, I started a YouTube channel, just because I'm in a group called the Magmod community, and Magmod make modifiers, if you aren't aware, that you put on a speed light, basically so obviously you've got a speed light. A lot of my work is to do with off-camera flash, so I want to limit the light that comes out of it. So adding like a grid on, like I've just done there, which is made by Magmod, will stop the spread of the light. So you've got a very small beam of light, so you can really pick out an area of a photograph that you want to light up. Anyway, long story short, I'm in a Facebook group called the Magmod community, and I share a lot of my work in there with the behind the scenes, and people really like that seeing this was what the scene looked like, this was the end photograph. And people were asking me questions in that group about various things. So I thought, well, I'll just make a little video, and that just took off. And so now it's got to the stage where the YouTube channel is a big thing for me now, and it's quite a big part of the way that I market myself. Again, it's not aimed at bride and grooms, it's more for photographers. I say that's become an increasingly large part of my overall business, and I now set up shoots purely to show like behind the scenes of various things. That's another one that was for a YouTube video. These were taken on the same day. You might recognize that, Blackpool. The worst weather ever. It was rainy, it was windy, but Demi is thank you. Well, she's a model friend of mine now. And again, these shots are taken, one for fun, two so I can make video content for YouTube, and I show the behind the scenes of it. And I love doing this. So yeah, the behind the scenes. Oh, that's the raw file, obviously, of this one. And that's the raw file of that one. That's natural light. Thank you. It's very kind. Again, phone, off camera speed light behind them. So yeah, I'm very lucky to do this for a job, and that's another crystal, which is this one. Again, right in front of the camera lens. And a lot of these, I'll try stuff out and think, sometimes it doesn't work, and you think, oh well, but sometimes you get stuff that looks a bit different. So because everything you see is all in camera, I don't do anything in Photoshop at all, and it's just fun sometimes to try things out.
That's nice.
Thank you. That was a workshop. That was a real wedding. The same wedding. Another little toy that I've got.
Is that done with the prism? That's not Photoshop.
No, it's not Photoshop. It's done with this. If you can see this, can you see?
Okay. Yeah. It's
called a fractal. So I put this again right in front. So many of the shots that you're looking at were taken on a 35mm lens. That's like I say. I personally think it's really good to shoot on, for the style of photography I'm doing, to shoot on primes. Not because you can shoot wide open, but because it gives you this muscle memory of knowing what each lens will give you. And a lot of these I find shooting on a 35mm lens works really nice. So that's the same prism thing, the fractal filter that you've just seen on the other shot. This is completely fake. That was taken on a cloudy evening. There was no good light at all. That is a speed light behind the couple. I call it the fake sunset trick, which is, again, Magmod offer, you can have these various gels. Again, like if if you can see this.
Okay.
This is like a full CTO gel. Basically, it's an orange gel that you just stick on your speed light. So it's going to give you an orange light. I put that on as well to diffuse that light and make it a little bit hazy. And you put that behind a couple. Obviously, it's giving out a very warm orange light. So it looks like the sun. And so that's a really good get out of jail card. If you, obviously, a lot of the weddings that I shoot, with it being the Northwest, a lot of my work, we're not blessed with the best weather.
Yeah.
So it's a handy trick to have. Again, that's that shot again.
That's
the
good.
fractal filter. Thank you. Nothing more than just a silhouette. That one, simple. Same with that. Foam trick again. It's just natural light. So yeah, I'll just fly through these. That's what I love to do. They're the two styles of photography that I do. That Halloween shoot I did. Ignore that one. Not a real wedding, obviously. So yeah, again, that was done for a YouTube video. As I shot a video where I did a 10-minute challenge. You can see all this stuff if you want to be bored. I've got like over 100 videos on there now. These are real weddings. That was a style shoot. Again, that was for a video. Couple in the Rain. That was a real wedding for me. That was one of the last weddings I did before the lockdown kits in last year. That's a typical Manchester wedding with all the rain coming down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they're that was shooting through tinfoil.
No way.
So I really like bokeh as a called. So that was like a sheet of tinfoil scrunched up. I put a hole in the middle and shot through that and put a speed light lighting up the tinfoil. Again, it's for a video, but these things are just experiments. And I always say to people, if one of the best things, obviously this with regards to portrait photographers and wedding photographers who want to take more creative shots, one of the best things you can do is just experiment and set up shoots where there's no pressure. I would not like pull out the tinfoil if I've on a wedding day if I've not tried it before, because that would be suicide. So I a lot of the time I will try out new ideas and new techniques and whatever on a shoot that I've just set up for fun where there's no pressure, and then if they work, then so that's an 85. This is a 35, and if they work, I'll then integrate them into an actual wedding then. Again, that's another crystal in front of the lens, just in natural light. So yeah, there we go. So that's like the two styles, if you like. And I'll say that the portraits are more important for me from a business point of view because they get people interested in my work. But on a wedding day, I feel as though the real timeless images are the moment. So there's two very different strands to what I do. And one is almost like bait, I suppose, to get couples interested. And then it's like, you don't want me to spend an hour and 2 hours taking portraits on your wedding day. I'll get them. I'll half an hour is more than enough, and then just enjoy yourself. And I say, my real love of photography lies in capturing emotion. But this stuff is what pays the bills, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope all that was useful.
Yeah, fabulous.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you think the market's changing? Do they think they want less formal portraits and they want more of the informal stuff now? Do you think it's changed?
Yes. Yeah, I would say so. Definitely when I first started, it was a very, very different marketplace then, because digital changed a lot. Because, if it wasn't for digital cameras, I mean, you can always play a game if you want to guess how many shots I take on a wedding day, because I shoot mirrorless now. So my cameras are completely silent and they have a very fast buffer. I can take a lot of shots. So a lot of the moments that you see, it's like a moment is preceded by a moment that isn't quite as good. So a lot of time I'm doing what's called like shooting through a moment. So I'm like, I might take, if I'm doing a confetti shot, for example, where the bride and groom are walking towards me, everyone throwing a confetti shot, I can easily take 60 shots within a minute, easy. And then I'll go through and I'll try and choose the best 2 or 3. You can't do that on film. So digital has changed the game, and it's changed what we are able to do as photographers. And some people think, well, there's no, that's a cop out and things like that. I don't believe that it is. I believe that we're just using the tools that are now available to us to their maximum. So I will take on a wedding day around 4,000 to 5,000 shots, and I'll deliver 500 shots. But that is not 5,000. I'm all over the place spraying and praying, as people call it. It's if I see a moment, if I see someone coming up to someone about to give them a big hug, and I know that after that hug, they're going to look at each other and there might be other connections. I could easily take 30, 40, 50 shots of that. So I'm shooting through the moment, if that makes sense. And then I'm choosing the best moments within that. But because of that, it's changed the industry. And documentary now is something that is I think bride and grooms, one, I think they don't want to be spending 4 hours, 5 hours on a wedding day being told by a photographer what to do. Certainly the couples that book me don't want that. They just want to have a brilliant time on a wedding day with the family and friends. And it because of that, and because people now see this style more and more, I think that's what most couples, I feel, are more attracted to now. Now, I'll say I take lots of group shots on a wedding. I say lots, normally an average of 8 or 10 group shots. It takes maybe about half an hour usually on a wedding day. And I'll take the detail shots and things like that. They're a bit more traditional. I also take traditional shots of the bride and groom, as I said before, for like often go on the mantelpiece, for the parents, for the grandparents and things like that. But I don't show those because, say, it's not really going to attract the couples that are right for me. But yeah, definitely it's changed. And I would say that when I first started, the predominant way that people shot wedding was on film. And the people that have been shooting weddings at that point have probably been shooting weddings for 20 years. And it's quite sad, because I did talks for, I'm not sure if you're aware of that, the MPA, the BIPP as well at the time. And I was, I think, seen as like some young upstart who was basically just taking people's jobs away, and I hated that, but people who were on film and have been doing this in a very regimented way, and it's like, this is I give you 30 shots in an album, that's what I do. Many of them unfortunately didn't adapt to, and it wasn't because of me, it was just the market was changing. So it's definitely changed. Yeah, definitely.
You say you don't use Photoshop, or do you use Lightroom at all, Neil? Or
sorry. Yeah, I probably mentioned that wrong. So I do use Lightroom. I use Lightroom all the time. Every image that you just seen of mine there is obviously edited. Nothing looks like it does out of camera. But I'm trying to make them more punchy, more contrasty. And I do use Photoshop as well. But all I use like Photoshop for is to take out things from an image. I like to clean up an image. What I don't do is, take something from one shot, put it into another, or things like that, or I don't add anything in and things like that. All I'm doing is cleaning up images in Photoshop. But yeah, I use Lightroom all the time. I couldn't survive without Lightroom. So my workflow will be, I'll come back from a wedding, say with 4,000 or 5,000 images. I'll download them into software called Photo Mechanic, which I don't know if you've heard of, but it's what I've just been showing you the images in there. If you've used Lightroom, you might know that if you've taken a large number of images, it takes that couple of seconds just to render. You're going from left to right, like go through, and it doesn't quite. It just takes that little split second just to come into focus. So Lightroom isn't the best software for what's called like culling your images, choosing those 500 images from the 5,000. Whereas Photo Mechanic, you can fly through images because it's just so much quicker. It just instantly comes up. So that's where I'll make my selections, and then I'll import those 500 images into Lightroom, and that's where the hard work starts, because that's when I'll just sit down and just try and get lost in the editing, and it can take me probably like 10 hours, I would say, on average, to edit each wedding. I can't do that in one go. I have an attention span of about an hour, and then I get a bit bored, and then I'll have to walk away. But yeah, so I use Lightroom for 90% of my editing, and then Photoshop just to clean up the images that I think are going to be the strongest ones. I don't take them all into Photoshop, just the ones that I think, I really want to make that one good, because I'll put that on Instagram and things like that.
10 hours is quite short. Are you being realistic then when you say 10 hours to edit 4,000 images?
Oh no, I don't edit 4,000 images.
No,
Oh,
but you've got
that would be a nightmare.
No, but you've got that many to choose from. You've got that many to choose from.
Yeah, so it
Just
takes me around.
I would have thought you spent
No,
20
I'll say
hours.
the selection itself will probably take 2 hours if I can just do it in one sitting, because it is literally a case of go like yes, 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 no, or more commonly no, 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 yes, no, 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 and then I might end up with say 700, and then I'll go through those 700 and get that 700 down to 500.
Yeah.
So and then I don't get rid of the others, but they don't exist in my mind anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just the 500 go into Lightroom, and that'll take me about 10 hours. But I also use a preset, so as soon as on import I apply again. I don't know if this is something that you all do, or if you ask me any questions. If not, but the preset is applying like a predetermined set of values within Lightroom to the images.
Okay.
So then really all I should really be doing is cropping, changing the exposure. Shouldn't be, if I've done my job well, then there should be more or less okay. And I only use the word okay, but in camera. And then once the preset's on, I always think if I'm spending more than say a minute on an image in Lightroom, it's probably not good enough, because that means I'm trying to make something. I won't use the phrase, but you know what I mean. Like I'm trying to clean something up too much. So it's about, I'll say an image should be no more than a minute. But oftentimes as well, if I've shot through a moment, for example, I might have 2 or 3 shots that are very similar, and I don't think it's my decision to say to the bride or to think, right, there's 3 shots that are similar, that's the one that I'm going to give them. So I'll give them all 3. But when you're editing them, those that basically I can copy and paste the settings for the first one onto the second and the third. So it's not quite as arduous as it probably sounds. So I reckon 10 hours is probably accurate, but that's not in one sitting, as I say.
Yeah.
Like the biggest job that I find, the biggest part of the job, which I think is a struggle for me, is the culling, because I find it really difficult to sit down and concentrate when going through that many images. So it will normally take me 2 or 3 sessions, actually, weird as it sounds, to get the cull done. And I'm not spending long on them, but I'll probably do like 1,000 images in a go away, have something to eat, come back, try and do another 1,000, then I'll watch YouTube, and then I'll go outside. And I'm just not very good at doing the whole thing. But once I'm in Lightroom, I'm fairly okay then. I'll put the music on, listen to a podcast, and just try and just get on with it then.
Neil, when you cull them, do you
Yes.
keep the originals, or do you just like cull, that's it, they've gone forever?
Good question. I do keep them. But as far as my bride and grooms know, they never existed.
Yeah.
So I don't tell my bride and grooms that I've taken 4,000 or 5,000 shots, because they may want them, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole of giving them like raw files. Or I mean, I shoot in raw and JPEG, so I could give them the JPEGs, but the JPEGs are not a good representation of my work because they're not edited. They will come out not looking like I want them to. So I don't want my couples to have those. So I don't tell couples that. As far as my couples know, I'm giving them all the images basically. That's 500, but I do keep them just in case. Although to be honest, in 15 years, only maybe 2 times has anybody ever said, "Oh, did you have anything more of this?" It's so rare. It doesn't matter, but just because I'm quite anal about it all, I still have all the JPEGs. After about 2 or 3 years, I'll get rid of the raw files, because again, I'm not going to get asked for them. The couple don't even know they even exist. I do keep the JPEGs, but I do keep is the raws of every single image that I've given to my couple. Just in case they might want one in black and white or something like that. Plus, over the years, I've tried to develop I've settled on an editing style now that I hope doesn't look too processed. Back in the day when I first started, I think we all probably do this. You think, oh, look at what this button does in Lightroom, or look at what this does, and they just looked awful. So it's good that I still have some of those old raws. So I've gone back and re-edited them, and I think they look a lot better now. So I keep the raws of the selected files, but everything else, although I do keep them, they don't exist as far as like my couples know.
And how do you actually deliver your 500 to the
That's a good question as well. So it used to be on a CD. It's now on a USB, so a little memory stick. But what's become more commonplace in the industry now, and I think this is what I will do when I basically run out of the USB supply that I've got. I think I've got about 15 left. Is a digital download. So what a lot of photographers do, including me now, is the first time that any couples will see their images. Well, it's a bit different. I do a slideshow, a private slideshow for them. But the first time any couples see all of their images. So basically for me, the first time any couple of my couples see their images will be a slideshow that I'll try and deliver quite quick, maybe 3 or 4 days after the wedding. And that will consist of around 30 images. And they're my favorites, set to music. I also capture audio as well. Sometimes I've got a little Sony microphone, which I then use to capture bits of the speeches. I can share links to if anyone wants to see any of these things afterwards, but I'll capture the audio of the speeches, of the ceremony, and I'll overlay that onto a slideshow so that it makes it much more impactful, much more like emotional. Again, I try and get that to my couples quickly because it's almost, dare I say, it's for the couple, that slideshow, but they will then share that amongst their family and friends, or usually they do. I don't ask them to, but usually that's what happens. And that's where I sometimes get word of mouth referrals. And I think if I was to do that 6 weeks after a wedding, 2 months after the wedding, the initial excitement, not for the bride and groom, but for the family, the friends, that would have gone away slightly. So I try and get that slideshow to do them relatively quick. And then it takes me around a month to 5 weeks-ish to then develop, to have all the 500 ready. They go into a private password protected gallery. And this is what virtually all the photographers I know do. So it goes into a private gallery, all online, nothing is paper copy. And from that gallery, you can set that gallery up so that you can allow the couple permission with a password or something to download them. And that's becoming very, very common now in the industry, digital download, basically. So I'm probably one step away from that because I've still got the USBs, but eventually I will probably just do that. So it's a different world now compared to, again, if I'm thinking when I first started, virtually every package which couples would order would be, the end product would be an album, basically.
Yes.
And now that's very, not gonna say it's very rare, but it's certainly not commonplace.
Wow.
The market, due to probably what photographers are offering, but also what couples want. Couples really want the images. They want the digital files because they want to put them on Facebook, they want to put them on Instagram, they want to make their own album, even make their own prints. They want the freedom to do what they can with them. So it's a very different model now to what it used to be, which was you would say there's an album included in your package, and then what photographers would try and do afterwards usually would be to try and upsell an album. So they'd say, right, your album's got 10 pages in it, that's 40 images, and they try and meet with a couple after, and they try and upsell that to a 20-page album, a 25-page album, and then you pay for the more pages. And that was like the model that was commonplace when I first started out. I've never done that. Mine's always been, here's your digital files. And that, I must admit, that was very controversial. Again, I did not instigate this by any means, but this was what me and other digital photographers were doing back in 2006, 2007, saying, and the film photographers who I have the utmost respect for, because I couldn't shoot a wedding on film. I hold my hands up. I couldn't do it. I'm not technical enough. I'm not good enough to get my exposures bang on and things like that. But they were saying, don't give all your files away. Like that's suicide. What we were doing though is charging a higher price and then giving everything. And that's exactly what I still do now. So I'm not a salesman at all. So I can't say, I don't expect, when the couple inquire with me and they see my package price, and then if they're happy with that, that's it. Money never gets spoken about again, which is good with me, because I don't want to then sit down with my couples afterwards and think, right, let's try and upsell an album, because that to me is not, I would be awful at that. So I say it's two very different techniques, basically. So digital download now is commonplace, but I say it was definitely not like that 15 years ago.
When you talk about trying to create value out of what you've done, do you think there's a difference between a northern model and a southern model? Down in the south and down in London, they could probably market themselves and, let's say, rip people off. I use that word. Whereas up in the north, we're more savvy, we're more down to earth. So we just say, there's your price, that's what you've got, you can have it all. Whereas down London, they'll just say, I'll charge you this for this, I'm going to charge you extra for this and extra for that. You know.
Yes and no. It depends. The photographers that I know don't tend to do that. It could be something. I mean, there are things that you can add on, but it's very transparent. For example, my add-ons would be a second photographer. I do offer albums. I don't actually do the album myself. I outsource them because I just don't like the album design process. So a friend of mine does them for me. I just sort of like refer my couples to him. And an engagement shoot I offer as well. But they're the only things. But it's very upfront and transparent. But basically, for me, when couples book me, they know that they're going to get everything that they want, really, which is all the digital files which have been edited. Which have been edited. And most people, I think, do it that way. There is definitely a price difference between northern-based photographers and London-based, but I don't know the model of lower price and upsell is something that I think is relatively rare.
In terms of your YouTube channel, does that? I mean, I'm interested in. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube recently. Does that bring revenue in, Neil, or how does that work?
Yeah. So YouTube. I mean, the biggest benefit of YouTube to me is it sort of sells me as a provider of training, if I'm being honest. And that's very good because obviously I say a large part of my business is my workshops, and obviously to get people interested in that, I need them to find me, and a lot of them will find me on YouTube. So that's the biggest payoff for me, but it's not a direct payoff from YouTube. I do get money from YouTube, so I'll share everything about it with you. So I have now 29,000 subscribers, and I'd say that each video that I put out there probably gets on average over its lifespan between 5,000 and 10,000 views. Each, and I try and do like an average, say a video a week. And I would say that on average, so the way that YouTube then pays you is through what's called AdSense. So you might see when you're watching YouTube adverts before the video, in the middle of the video, at the end, and all that sort of thing. And if you watch that advert for more than 3 seconds, the creator will get paid for that. Very, very small amounts. However, obviously, if you got a decent amount of views, it adds up a little bit. So I get on average, I would say between 100 and 150 pounds a month through YouTube. So don't get me wrong, it's not to be sneezed at, but the biggest advantage for YouTube for me is not that. That's the bonus. It's the profile raising like that it gives me. Because as well, I also set up, because of, I was saying this to Jude before, I don't want it to be like a woe is me by any means, but obviously being a wedding photographer since March last year has not been the best job in the world to be in financially. So, and I'm set up as a limited company, and I'm the sole director of that company. So there's no other employees. But because of that, I've had no financial support from the government whatsoever. I haven't had a penny. So I had to diversify slightly, and I was lucky that I had a bit of I'd set like a foundation up, if you like, in terms of my training. I've got a bit of a following on Instagram and YouTube, and that was really beneficial because it meant I had something to grow on. So I set up what's called a Patreon, which is basically like a paid for subscription to, like, it's like I do live streams every week. I interview other photographers on there. I show lots of editing videos. I do critiques for other photographers and build up a community basically. But I set that up as a direct response to the fact that I needed to pay the bills, and I didn't know how else I could do it. So I put in a lot of effort over the past few months in growing that. And long story short, the YouTube as well, because I mentioned the Patreon on my YouTube videos, that obviously feeds into the Patreon. So the YouTube, I would say, the YouTube channel is more of a funnel for my training rather than the direct financial money from YouTube being the reason, if that makes sense. By far, it's about profile raising for me.
Just one question on that. You said adverts. Like the adverts that can go on your channel, or is that selected for you? Because you might, I'm just thinking something that you might be uncomfortable advertising. I don't know what that might be, guns or something. Could that be?
Yeah.
Do you get a choice on that, or does say YouTube say, right, we're going to put a gun advert in the middle of your nice
No,
wedding.
one thing, I mean, you probably will know this from everything, Facebook, all social media, the algorithms that power those things are freakishly clever. So the adverts are nothing to do with my videos. The adverts are to do with your preferences as a YouTube viewer.
Wow.
So if you're, even though I'm offering photography videos, so usually the adverts, I dare say, on my channel will be photography, but that's not because I'm photography. That's because the people watching my videos are probably watching photography videos on YouTube. But if you're looking at, say, cars, you're looking to buy a new car, and you've been searching on Google for new cars, you're more likely to see an advert for a new car on my channel than you would be for a camera. And it's very, very clever. It's very clever. How because the algorithm's sole purpose on YouTube is not to promote my videos, it's to promote videos to you that you will watch and you will stay on the YouTube platform. So for example, my videos it's a whole rabbit hole that I'm more than happy to waffle on for hours about YouTube, but it's the algorithm forces you as a creator into making videos that are going to have what's called high retention. In other words, if I put out a video that's 10 minutes long and you only watch it for 1 minute, YouTube is not going to push that video out very, very long at all, because it thinks that's no good for us as a platform, because you might just click off and go off YouTube. If you watch that video for 9 minutes, YouTube's like, oh, brilliant, we'll push this out to loads of people because we know that people watch this video a lot. So YouTube is very much based around keeping you on the platform, and it encourages its creators to make videos that will do that job. So that's why you see, if you ever watch YouTube videos, it's lots of jump cuts. You're like, so you're cutting out all the art. Because when I talk into a camera, I'll do a lot of R's about like, so this camera this is the 85, and I'll cut out all that, so it'll then be, this is the 85. And the reason that people do that is, one, because it's easier for you to view, but because you want to try and make the video short, snappy, so that you're going to watch a lot of it for good retention. So yeah, the algorithm is freakishly clever, but it's to do with your preferences rather than anything else.
So are you saying then, Neil, that 10 different people could be watching your video on YouTube and they would all see different ads?
Yeah, it's quite scary,
Wow.
isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever had that thing where you're Googling, I don't know, a recipe book, then you go into Facebook, you see an advert for a recipe book.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Me.
Well, whatever it may be, but it knows your preferences. So the adverts that are delivered to you on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube are very specific to you and your taste. An example for this would be if you go onto YouTube not signed in, so like incognito, say, you'll probably see very different adverts than you would if you watch that same video 1 minute later signed in, because it knows what your preferences are. And it's like, it will also deliver videos to you as well. It thinks you're going to what, like your homepage will be very different to my homepage because it knows what my viewing preferences are. And you don't even need to be subscribed to channels to know that. I'm sure that like you go onto YouTube and sometimes, and the whole reason that the wormhole exists, and before you know it, you've been on YouTube for an hour watching all these different videos that you didn't even ask to watch. But YouTube knows that if someone's likely to watch that video, the algorithm's already tested this on thousands of people. That person is likely to watch this one. And if you watch this one, you're likely to watch this one. And that's what it will deliver to you. It's crazy. It's crazy technology.
Scary.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find I love YouTube. I find it fascinating. It's really, really interesting. And there is an industry in itself within YouTube, which is about how to grow YouTube channels and things like. It's very much a dark art. No one really understands the algorithm, but like the title clickbait obviously is a big thing. You know, you'll all know, be tempted of that because you're like, oh, I am intrigued. What does happen to that person or whatever? And the title's really important. As I say, the thumbnail is massive. You've got to make a thumbnail that's going to appeal to people, want to click on it. And people spend a long time on getting the title right and getting the thumbnail right, because it's all about click-through rate and then retention, you know, making sure that video is worthy. And when it is worthy, you can get, like I had a video recently, which within a week had 30,000 views, which is unusual for mine.
Wow.
And that was just because the retention was good. And I'd always try and make videos that are interesting. Obviously, there's no point in doing it otherwise, but sometimes you hit the mark and sometimes you don't. But when you do get it right, you know, it can fly.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Can I ask you, McNeil? You said you didn't do anything to do with photography at university. What did you do?
I did marketing. So my A levels were in computing, business studies, and art. And I loved art. Like, it's quite a weird thing, I suppose, because I got an A in my business studies at A level. Didn't really like it. It was just, I think I had, like, I was good at it, but it didn't grab me. I loved art, and I got an E, and I was devastated because I wanted people to like that side. You know what I mean? I wanted to be good at that. And one of the most valuable lessons that I learned was the devastation of that, because ultimately what I then learned is, and this is a good lesson for all photographers, and you mentioned it at the beginning about how a lot of societies, groups and what have you are very competitive, is that forget that. Just concentrate on your own style. And who is to say what is good or bad? Do you know, like with my shots, like some people might look at them and think, I like them. Some people might look at them and think they're awful. They're way too, you know, they're not formally, or whatever it may be. And that's fine. Everyone has their own style. And I think it's really sad if people are sort of encouraged to think, there might, if say you take a picture, it could be like I know there's a lot of people in the group that like landscapes, and you take a landscape picture that you really like, you go and exhibit that in a society or whatever, and somebody says, no, look at that, you've blown out the highlights there, that tree shouldn't be there, you've not incorporated the rule of thirds, that's wrong. That's their opinion. And I think that lesson when I was 18, because honestly, I can still remember it now. Basically, long story short, I got my A-level results through phoning up for them because I was on holiday with my family at the time. I remember being in a phone box and getting them and being, honestly, it was like the A didn't matter to me. That was nothing, but E, like I want to be, I love art. And honestly, after that, it just made me develop this sort of inner belief that if I like it, that's okay, because somebody else will. It's like when I showed you that the creative portrait, some people will like that, some people will be really turned off by it, and some people will be like, I don't get it, it looks awful, I hate that stuff. And that's cool, because they're not my couple. But what I don't want to be is trying to be a generic, this is what I shoot for me, and hopefully my couple's like that, rather than thinking I need to fit into this. And that's what I'd say to all of you, like, shoot with your gut. And if you like it, then it's right. You know what I mean? Don't think I've got to compromise on what I like. And a lot of what I try and really like reinforce in photographers is that belief in their own work, and to say there is no right or wrong, it's subjective. Like, I don't like Picasso, but I'm not saying he's no good. It's just not my cup of tea. Like, I love Turner, but that doesn't mean that somebody else will think he's just throwing paint around. It doesn't matter. It's subjective. And I hate the fact that some people should on people. You should do this, you should do that. And I think, something in me really like says, do not listen. So yeah, so that was a big lesson. So I then went on to do art. And I already had my place at University Manchester Met to do art and design. Oh. And that was all to do with, it was brilliant, like loads of different things. So photography was part of it, painting, art, life drawing, all these different areas. But part of that as well was I really enjoyed writing. And I then wanted to be a copywriter. I wanted to write adverts and things like that, and get into marketing and advertising. So my degree was then in marketing. That never really happened. So I ended up working for a law firm doing marketing, but in the most boring way possible for a law firm. And they say then it's just by pure fluke, someone who I was working with just said, would you be interested in shooting my wedding? And that, because I'd retained that love of photography, but it was never going to go anywhere. And had I not been asked, I wouldn't have ever pursued it, because I never took a picture of a person. Like, it was scary to me, because I'm a very introverted person. So the idea of taking pictures at a wedding would have scared the bejesus out of me.
And yet you get that close to them. Amazing.
Right.
Yeah, it's just through experience and through learning myself through other people. Like there's a photographer in the US who is, to me, is a bit of a mentor almost, called Tyler Workin. He is purely documentary. He will not set anything up. Like, for example, if he's going to take a picture of, oh yeah, I can't show you my desk, but like say he wants to take a picture of this glass is really important for the wedding, but this some rubbish lay against it. He won't move this. He won't touch anything, because he said, then as soon as I do that, it's my interpretation of the day. And one of his biggest lessons were get close, because that's again, I don't know if any of you have heard of a photographer called Robert Capa, a war photographer.
Yeah.
He just said, if your photographs aren't good enough, you're not close enough. And there's something in that. There's a photograph that's taken on a 35mm where it fills the frame, you feel like you're in that shot. If you take that shot at 200mm or 7-200, it doesn't feel that way. So get closer. And also lose all the stuff in your bag. You know, he's like, get rid of the 7-200, get rid of all these lenses, just go light 35-85 and be reactive. That was his other lesson. Yeah, so he changed me in a big way, and it was just very moment orientated. But again, so it's not me changing, it is me changing my style, but I'm listening to that thinking, I agree with you. So yeah. And then again, over time, like I've just got used to that. But even though I say I am introverted, it seems a bit like it's at odds. Remember, I'm not interacting with people either. I'm not trying to be funny to get reactions. I'm just there. So you can afford to be quite introverted, I would say.
Yeah.
Right, I'm sorry, Neil. We've got to go because I've got a quiz.
No, pleasure. Thank you for listening
thank
to
you
me
very much.
waffle
I've
on.
really enjoyed it. I'm sorry I got to cut it short, but
not at all.
I'm going to
You've gained another subscriber.
Got another subscriber.
Oh, thank you very much, Sophie.
Yeah.
And I'll be in touch because I've got some questions for you as well. So,
please do. Yeah.
brilliant.
The best place to get me is just through Instagram. Just find me on Instagram or an email, info@neilredfern.com, whatever's easiest.
Brilliant. Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank
Really enjoyed it.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming on, Sophie.
Thanks, Jude.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
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 See ya.
Okay, any other questions for Neil? What else have I got?
Well, you've confirmed a lot of what I thought about photography using short lenses, 35mm, 50mm, and getting close.
As always, it's completely a stylist.
But it works.
It's a stylistic thing. There's no, again, I always say there's no right or wrong. That is what I prefer. That doesn't mean it's right, but for me, yeah. For the images that, if you like the sort of images which I've been showing you, then definitely 35 and 85. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Just going back to when you were talking about taking the photographs, you said you took some in RAW and some in JPEG.
Sorry, no, I take every shot with my camera. I use a Sony A9. That has a setting which allows you to shoot one picture, but you'll get that picture twice. You'll get the RAW file and you'll get the JPEG. So the JPEG is just there for security, just to give you like a.
I wasn't sure if you meant that or you meant you did your moments in JPEG and you did the other ones in RAW. So right.
No, that's a good question, because initially I did go through a stage of doing that because I had, the RAW files are massive compared to JPEG. You think, if I take everything in RAW, I've not got the computer size to fill them. So I did try that, but very quickly just went to complete RAW, because obviously that gives you the flexibility when you're editing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's absolutely fascinating and very, very interesting to listen to, inspiring, Neil.
That's very kind, thank you.
Do you want to, you can put it in the chat. Is it easy enough to find you on YouTube? And
yeah, if you just put my name into YouTube, you should. I've got I can put the link in if there's. Oh, there's the chat.
That would be useful. I'd like to have a look at some of certainly the ones with the mirror. I quite like the look of that.
Nice.
Oh, thank you. Well, on the YouTube on my YouTube channel, if you'll find like lots of examples of me literally being filmed shooting, so you can see examples of me doing that. I say if you're ever struggling to sleep, you put YouTube channel.
The group a challenge with
I was going to say that.
Mirror shot.
Yeah, it's a good exercise. It's fun. Yeah. You can do it with your phone. I mean, usually I do it with my phone, but I then just thought it's just easier getting a mirror because it's a bigger surface area. But yeah, you can do the exact same trick with your phone.
As in your phone just being the shiny edge. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is actually not the best example with my phone because I've got this red case on it.
Yeah.
So you sometimes see. So my advice, if you're going to try this, is to do it on a 35mm lens. If you do it on a longer focal length, say 50 or 85mm, you don't get the reflection as much. It just doesn't really work.
Okay.
Equally, if you do it on a say 24, then you'll start to see the phone too much. So 35 is at the sweet spot as a focal length.
Right.
And also the wider your aperture, the better. So if you shoot like, f2.8 or even wider, then that will give you a nice result.
Right. Okay.
I'll try that. I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
Yeah, give it a go.
Definitely.
Give it a go.
It's an interesting challenge to do, actually. So. Okay. And what we were going to do after this is I was going to ask you guys if you wanted to share any images, but I don't know if anything like me. I'm feeling a little bit, a bit shy about my work. That was just amazing.
No. Right. Oh, this is where I'll get on my high horse. You must do. Like one of the things that I always will try and say to everyone is that it's very kind what you just said, but we're all this is very cheesy, but it's so true. We're all learning.
Yeah.
Like, and some people are a bit newer, some people are at the beginning of the road, some people are a little bit further along, but you can't complete photography. So we're all learning, and there's no right or wrong.
Yeah. Okay, so
I'll be upset if you don't share anything.
I don't think I've got anything to share, actually, to be honest.
I'll let you off then. That's all right then, but don't do it out because you.
So
I'm not sure how to share on my phone.
if anybody would like to share.
Yeah, I've got some, Jude.
Whoa, we've got some very, very confident people.
I'm just going to get some water. We'll be back in 1 second.
Please do, Neil. Thank you.
Who's going first, Evie?
I don't know how to share.
I actually put this up for until 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, but just people okay to carry on until we're.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
I don't even know what time are we on?
Has anyone got another appointment? To, anywhere to go or?
Well, I'm going to the pub.
Sure.
Short.
Yeah.
I'll have half a lager, please, if you're getting them in.
That'll be the day, won't it?
Lovely, wouldn't it? Yeah. So, are you all okay for sharing? Of course you are.
Yeah.
If I knew how to, I would, but I don't know how to.
I've got one.
Do you not? Are you on your
No.
phone?
I'm just on my phone, yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure.
No, not to worry. I'll try and work it out for another time.
Are you going, David?
I'll have a go. Let me have a try.
I do have some things I could share, actually.
Oh my computer.
We're on Zoom, aren't we? Let's go back to this. Share. Has that worked?
Yes, beautiful.
Hey! I took that from my window because I've literally not been anywhere. And
you live in an amazing place.
Well, it's only it's only our patio, so I just stood out on. Well, that's literally my back door window where I am now. So it overlooks Diggle. So I just took that, and I took a bit of a snow scene. But I've literally not been anywhere. It's been quite miserable, really.
Yeah.
So that's as far as I've been. So that's what I've got.
What is that? Just your back garden?
Yeah, well, not all of it, but it runs to that fence there, and then we've got the views.
Well, whereabouts are you, Neil?
Bury now.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, we're in Saddleworth, so well, obviously by the name.
Yeah, but love that. Love that you're on the edge of all. I don't know it that well, but obviously on the edge of the moors and things. I mean, that's an amazing view. I'd love to have that as my back garden view.
Yeah.
So,
see out the window when you wake up. Sorry.
So that's.
Some blasé to it. We've had it for a year.
Oh, that's the trouble, isn't it?
Yeah. Although it does look extra nice in the snow.
Oh, nothing's coming up. For some reason, I need to. Yeah, that's probably as good as it's going to get.
Have you got more?
I have, but I don't know how to get across here. It's over here, so and the all the images of you guys are on that side, so I don't know how to get to it.
Can you grab a top?
Drag us across.
Oh, hang on, there's one there. Oh, hang on, what we got here?
Oh, right, he's getting there.
Oh, I don't know. I took that 8 years ago, so I don't know how I've got that there. The Brooklyn Bridge, but I took that yonks ago, so I don't know how suddenly these. Now this is an interesting one.
Oh, I really like that.
Oh, let me just show you this.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
This is why I did not. This is why I stopped going to Oldham Camera Club, because
Right.
I showed this of an evening, and they had then a competition night, and they
Yeah.
had this judging, and he absolutely slated me because he said that trunk there, yeah, there was no definition in the trunk, in the tree trunk, and I thought, well, I'm giving up. So I never went after that. He absolutely slated me for that. And he literally, for a room full of people, and he really dragged the image down. And I thought, well, that's it. I've had enough.
Oh.
That's just awful. As I said before, I just don't understand it.
Yeah, but because he said there were no detail in the trunk there. I'd lost all the detail in the trunk.
I don't think there's anybody sitting on the bench. There's nobody sitting on the bench, David. That's the problem.
Oh, that's it.
Did he suggest how you could have improved it?
Sorry?
Did he suggest how you could have improved it?
No, I just slagged it off. So I
Well, that's
So there we are. So that's my. So I don't know why they've suddenly come up, but there we are.
these food ones down here.
Yeah. Oh yes, I took these for a. For some reason they're not coming out of. They're not focusing. They were in focus, but they're not at the moment.
No, you've got a scrolling. Take a while to do it.
It may be something, but I took these for a magazine. Well, my son works for a catering company. He asked me to come down with my big camera to take some photos. But these are in focus, but they're not coming across in focus. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And I did the Christmas things, which I showed you, I think. So this was
You're in Lightroom, David.
Sorry?
Not good looking at these either when you're hungry.
I don't know what's up with my Lightroom. It's not.
We're stopping you from your tea meal.
No, don't worry at all. I'll have it whenever.
Yeah. And that's the mill that they've just pulled down. So I quite like that one.
Yeah, I like that.
Which one's that one?
That's at Worth Mill, where they're putting up the new school in Saddleworth. That's a door that I found.
Yeah.
I just took that.
Yeah.
I like that one.
So that's, I said, why these have suddenly appeared, I don't know, because these were on my old camera. So why they've suddenly appeared, I don't know.
Well, you've given us a bit of a holiday of images. So.
Yeah. So that's my bit anyway.
Who's next? Did somebody else want to share?
I took some last couple of weeks, just snow scenes.
Cold.
So these are just local shots.
Oh wow.
Really nice.
Out with my wife walking. There's loads of these pools with ice around the outside, and they had a kind of planetary feel to them.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
Oh, it's beautiful. Wait, that you've got the graduation of the blue in the sky.
Well, that's nice. That's a nice one.
That's from
Did you put
Grains Bar,
Little
over
elf.
to Dell with a chimney, then to Pots and Pans.
Yeah.
And then you got the path up to Chew Reservoirs on the top.
Really nice.
And what you do when you're on a walk, you get the atmosphere of a shot, but you can never convey it in a photograph, can you?
No.
They never quite look the same. They always look flatter in a photograph, but hopefully I've got something there.
I think yeah. There's something really stunning about that.
That one. And yesterday we had the most horrendous traffic jam on the M62.
Ah, yes.
And I live in Denshaw, and I live at the top of Wham Lane, and the traffic was coming all round the lanes, down Wham Lane, all the way from Denshaw, all the way from Oldham, and it was from 1 o'clock until about 7:30 at night.
Okay.
And it was constant, and we have never seen anything like it. So this was taken about 7:30 at night. Well, about 7 o'clock. So I thought I've got to capture it.
There's something, just to jump in like quickly, like we were saying before, like that's a sort of shot that I think probably would not do well in a competition. However, I think that is beautiful because that, you said before about having capturing like a feeling that does. And it's hard to describe what it is, but that's the whole point of photography, really. It's how sometimes you can't describe what it is. But I think that is really, really nice.
But it was taken through the window with the rain on the window.
That's what I mean. It's almost like imperfect, but the beauty of it is it's in its imperfectness, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like that. And every one of these is raindrop on the glass.
Yeah, and that's what makes it, I think. There's just something very atmospheric and very emotive about it. And I love how
was
that
literally touching the glass.
Yeah,
Try and get it out of focus.
I love it.
Is that something you've ever tried, Neil, doing that?
The closest I've got, again, obviously all that I'm doing is very portrait orientated with people. But what I've tried in the past is buying, you can get like a little spray, like something that sprays very, very fine spray and spraying that onto the lens to try and get that sort of foreground bokeh there. But it didn't work, but I will revisit it because I think there's something in it. But no, I've tried it sort of, but I didn't get any good results. But yeah, that one again, I just think there's a really good feeling to that it's hard to convey.
That's 14 millimeters. That
right.
So that was quite wide angle. That's our cat in the snow.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, great.
That's awesome. Look at those eyes. She's going straight.
Fabulous. It's like she's on a mission.
Yeah.
And again, just a cottage near us. I just love the simplicity of the shot. It's just a cottage with a hillside beside it. And I just like that view.
Nice.
I'd love to live in a house. I think I'm jealous. And then these are the owls. Right outside the garden a few weeks ago, we had some barn owls.
And
this is at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was dark. 8,000 ISO. This was at a 13th of a second.
Handheld,
yeah.
Whoa.
This is a 30th of a second ISO 8000, and it was literally dark.
Gosh.
And I never thought I'd get focus on this.
Yeah.
And that shot and that shot.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe I got them. It's dark, honestly. Believe me, it's dark.
You should be very proud of those.
They're rubbish, but
I heard something about them that they their wings, because they're so white, they actually dazzle the prey. Is that right?
Yeah, that was last night on Winter Watch.
Yeah.
About that,
but technically they're not very good, but they're my shots.
Absolutely.
I'm happy with them.
Yeah, I think fabulous.
So yeah, that's me for a few weeks because it's been a bit of shitty time, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a bit.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have, but I can't get back in. Can you guys still see me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bizarre. I can't seem to get in to click on share. I don't know what it's done. Hide video.
You're gonna
right, got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, it's done through Facebook because these were on my iPhone as well. And Alan, you posted those owls, didn't you, on Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw them. They were absolutely brilliant. So I've only done photos really on my iPhone, apart from the kestrels, which are not on this laptop, unfortunately. So I'll save that till next time. But these are what I've taken. They're very random. They're not my normal nature type ones. So a bit of a landscape. Can you see that one? Has it worked?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. This is
Oh, is she frozen?
Yeah, she's frozen.
messing around New Year's Eve.
Oh.
Why is that? The The picture's frozen.
Uh,
Oh, how annoying.
Yeah, you keep freezing, Karen,
Back.
as well.
No.
I think she does, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Are you back again?
Is everyone back? Did that work?
Can't see you
No.
then.
Who back?
No, you kept freezing, Karen.
Yeah.
Everyone back? Can you see that? Right. It looks like it might only show
No,
one of them now. Again.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. Can you see the pictures? Can you see it on Facebook? No.
No,
No.
no. It's just saying that this started screen. Oh, it's just come back on again now.
There we go. Can you see that?
Oh, yes, yes.
Just playing around with it, really. Christmas tree and
Mhm.
New Year's Eve and sort of just memories.
And they are also very important at the moment, I think.
They are.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I know
yeah.
we did that COVID, the COVID.
That's a great shot.
Thank you.
A rose just right at the top of the stem.
It's they've been flowering all winter.
Wow.
Totally bizarre. I haven't had my rose bush without roses. No, I won't, not in full bloom, not lots and lots of them, but there's always been one or two on it the whole way through. So
It's almost like a triffid, that. It's weird.
yeah,
It's weird.
You can see the thorns on it as well.
sorry, yeah. And the snow and
Yeah,
it was just
lovely.
it was the gentle snow, not like last night. It was just we've just been messing around really, myself and my daughter, because like you say, you can't go far, you can't, there's not, you see lots of pictures on Facebook, but there are obviously people just stepping out the front door and going where they can. So we've taken a lot of this one though.
Oh.
That's Bailey.
It's a new one. Or
No, he's 15 now.
okay.
Yeah. So
It's
we
got very good teeth.
yeah, that's him smiling at us. So yeah, so that's just a few off my iPhone really quickly, because this isn't my normal laptop. So there you go.
Okay.
What we've been doing.
Right. And then can I share mine? Well, Duncan, do you want to go ahead?
Oh, I don't mind. Oh, okay, I'll go. I did share these on the group already, and people very kindly commented on them or put likes on them. So I'd edited them in different ways.
Okay.
And I just wanted to get some feedback on what people thought of them. So some of these are all the landscapes I've been trying to sort of get better at. So this is above Holmfirth where we are. So these ones I've kind of kept them a bit more in camera, kind of the colours that came out, the blues that were in the landscape. But then I've also the sun was getting, so I got some good sort of colour, very moody kind of ones. It was interesting to see which ones people liked over other ones, because I didn't know which way to go with them, whether to enhance the colours like this one, or to go with the more in camera kind of blues that were there before. So I quite like this one where the
that's nice.
Yeah,
That's really lovely.
sun's reflecting off the road in the valley bottom there. I can't like the roof. And
I like that one.
the lady with the dog's just passing, and she says, "Oh," I said, I pointed my camera at the dog. She got it to sit and to do some tricks and things. So.
Oh wow!
This was I spent ages in Lightroom Photoshop to try and get the light to work on this one, because it's so dramatic and contrasted from what was happening in the sky compared to the foreground. There was hardly any foreground, and trying to get that balance was very difficult. I don't know if there's any good ways to do that, but
You shoot in RAW, Duncan?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have seen the original file. It was almost black.
All right.
So yeah, these are some of the skies that
That's
were.
nice. I like that one.
Yeah, I do.
Again, this is another one where the foreground is very dark compared to the top. Do people kind of put masks across then to try and get the contrast to kind of, you know, lighten one area over another? Because I didn't do that.
Yeah, what I think a lot of landscape photographers do is they'll use a filter, a grad filter, so which you'd put over the part of the image so that it's obviously going to underexpose the sky, so you could then use a different shutter speed to bring up the foreground.
Right.
But you could do it in post if you wanted to do that.
Oh, okay, right. A filter. Yeah, sorry. Grad filter.
Yeah, so it's like a piece of glass that goes over the lens, and it looks darker, so it's underexposing the sky at the time you're taking it. That's what I say. That's what I know a lot of photographers, a lot of landscape photographers do. But the bottom half of the filter will be clear, and then you basically place in the horizon line, or the where the sky starts, so that you got all the dark part of the filters filling that.
Did you expose for the sky there, Duncan? Is that sky naturally photographed, or have you manipulated it?
I've kind of just exposed post processing Lightroom just to bring it up, because it was very contrasted before that. The sky was very exposed and the foreground was very under. So I've played with the highlights and the shadows just to balance it out a bit. But I don't like things to look too over processed. So it is as close as I can get without it being, like, you know, trying to burn out parts of the image and things.
This is Jude. This is something we should do, you know, in future when we get together. Take a raw image, and each have our own, you know, play with it.
Yeah.
And say what we would do with shadows, highlights, contrast.
Yep. Yeah, you suggested that before.
Because it is a black art.
It was a thought.
Like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a really nice sky we got that evening, just as the sun was going down.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I like that.
Yeah, and then the clouds started to roll in over the hillside, which was pretty nice. And then I walked down into the village in Home Firth, so it was.
Or slipped.
So I did black and white with this, and then there was a few pigeons on the.
That's good.
Lovely in pink.
That cobble shot was fantastic, I thought.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I just love that shot. That was a gorgeous shot, that.
I do love black and white.
And then the last one was pigeonless.
That's cool.
These pigeons that were roosting, and they all looked a bit perturbed at the fact I'd moved them.
Very Wallace and Gromit.
You know what I love about that shot?
Yeah.
What I love about that shot, Duncan, it's the white, the amount of white above the head.
Right.
You could have cropped that so tight above the head and it had lost the shot. But it's the white that does it, you know. For me.
Yeah, I mean, I have cropped.
I just think it's fantastic with the white there.
That's another thing we did before, didn't we? We had another exercise where somebody, I think it was Sophie's dad, I forgot his name.
Paul.
Well, he gave us an image, didn't he, of in a church, and said, "Can you everybody have a go at cropping this?"
Yes. Yeah. I think that was Alan, actually, was it?
Yeah, no, yeah, that was, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I love the idea of cropping. I think it's just fundamental to photography.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to share something just because I'm joining in. Okay. Right. This is the few days back. I went to Grandpa Green's, and I recorded it as just to show what was happening there.
Wow.
And people were being so good. They were social distancing. There were people all around here just standing around with cups of hot chocolate, and they were selling food in a bowl, in a sort of a pastry bowl as well. And these guys in the high vis were just saying, just telling everybody, please, can you be careful? Don't get too close to each other because we're being watched. No, they want to close us down, and yet we want to carry on going. But it was such a lovely day. Yeah, but I just thought it was another one of those COVID memories that won't happen again.
Yeah, it's lovely that, Jude.
Will do, but it happens every weekend. But, right, can I go to the next one? Yeah. Oh, it looks dreadful now. It's up tight. Right, I've been trying. I have started on my journey of taking images of birds in the garden because, as you say, we can't go well, we can go places, but so I've started taking notice of the birds in my garden. So, I'm still playing around with the lens. So there must be a sharper one than that, but yeah. Oh, that was when it just suddenly got up and flew off. And
it looks like a fairy.
I just liked it. Yeah, I just thought.
Oh, the wisp.
Either a fairy or a a frog jumping off or something. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I had
definitely a keeper, Jude.
That's a big bird.
Yeah, no, he came in the middle of it all, and I let him have a few bird seeds, and then I let the dog out so that he would get the message. There's a dog around.
We do that.
And then that's just another one of Diggle Lock, well, looking from Diggle. So
yeah,
it was. I just loved it. It just bends round there. It looks as though I'm actually in the middle of the canal, but you're not. So yeah. So just snowy times. So thank you for looking.
Yeah, lovely.
Right. Okay. Okay.
I'll have a practice for next time to try and share for next time.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Right. So our next meeting is on the 4th of February.
Yep.
Just 2 weeks' time.
Okay.
And I'm afraid because I've been my head's been in a completely different place. I haven't had much of a chance to think about what we can do during that session. I wrote down here, any ideas, Alan? Alan keeps messaging me with suggestions. He says, could we do this one week? Could we do that the next week? David might have done that as well, actually. I can't remember. And I was just thinking, are there any ideas that we haven't done yet? Because we've had a run of, like we had we did a sort of a special treasure hunting thing, didn't we? With it was like what was it? I gave out a sheet, and they all had to
Mission COVID.
Mission COVID. That was it. They the assignment. They had to go and take images of somebody wearing a mask, somebody in a queue.
Oh, that's good.
Something like that. So that was great fun, wasn't it? Dashing around the place.
Missed that one.
we've had speakers. We've had some training as well on Lightroom, and I think we did a very quick one on Photoshop, and I'm sure I absolutely confused everybody with that one. But is there anything that anybody is desperately wanting to do for the 4th of February? Alan, I like your idea of, or I can't remember who it was now, who said, should we take a raw file and get everybody to edit it and come out with your own style?
That would be a good. I think that's a good idea. We could all then just display it and see what.
I think we've kind of done that, haven't we?
Have we done it?
No,
with the church thing.
We could do another one.
Well, somebody then send a file to you, Jude, and then we'll all do our own edits on it.
Yeah.
Who's going to volunteer to send the file?
Let's have a dramatic landscape.
Maybe Neil should send Jude it, and we can edit it.
I can send you one if you want. Yeah, I've got some landscapes. Oh, I can send you something.
Go on then, because you're
happy with that.
Out of the group then, aren't you? So Evie, what are we going to do with you though? Because
I don't know. I can still join in the session, but
you could perhaps write a critique about what you would do, or how you would.
What I would do? Yeah, I could do. Yeah.
The thing is, to get the most out of it, though, you need to have a raw file, which is usually generally a large file.
Yeah.
To get the best out of it, and then save it as a JPEG. So I don't know if that's a technical problem we might have.
Well, maybe there could be a JPEG for those that don't have ways of editing RAW.
But that limits you then, because there's certain things. There's a lot you can't do with a JPEG that you can do with a RAW file.
Yeah, but if you don't,
But maybe we just put that as a limitation. Maybe we just say that's the.
I'm just
Those
thinking you could use what
Those
is
are the constraints.
what's that one on that you came on a workshop with me, didn't you, with Jenny's workshop on the
Oh.
workshop
In Stamford Park.
was it Snapseed we used?
Snapseed, yeah.
Yeah, because you could have the JPEG and use Snapseed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can have a go.
Yeah, so there are ways and means around that one.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, no, I just wrote down here. Yeah, we could have another assignment. I could give you some other things to go and photograph. Whether or not anyone has got a project, or perhaps I don't know, a group of images that they'd like to share.
I thought of something, Jude, which was depth of field.
Right.
So, because we can't all get out of the house, but we've got a camera. We're in the house to choose something where we can explore depth of field, either narrow or broad, and it's a good technical exercise. Because, although we're all photographers, depth of field and apertures, I'm not sure we're all familiar with. So maybe
Okay.
something that demonstrates depth of field.
Yeah, and then those that struggle or don't understand it, we can discuss it with them. Yeah.
Another idea.
So, just an idea.
Good idea. Yeah, fine. Thank you.
Why don't we do something that Neil's has shown us this evening, the thing with the mirror?
Yeah.
I think, I mean, even if it's not the mirror, I think reflections is a good exercise in itself, because it teaches you to look for reflections. It could be a mirror, could be a puddle, could be a lake.
Yeah, I love reflections.
Yeah.
Happy with that? Yeah.
Which one are we going for? Reflections for now.
Well, reflections.
We've got a few weeks worth going on there. So brilliant. That's great for 2021.
Yes.
Is it really that long? Right. Okay. Well, it's been a fantastic evening, and it's been
great.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Neil.
Yeah.
Not a pleasure. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it. It's been really nice to virtually meet you all.
I've been really looking forward to. I've heard about your work and seen some of it, and looked at it and thought, how does he do that?
Honestly, it's never as impressive when you know what the trick is. It's like a magician's trick. Once you know how to do it, it's like, I wish I didn't know. Actually,
and then he goes and gets all these awards for it, and you think, how does he do that?
Look.
No, don't worry. I'm not. No. That's just professional jealousy or whatever it is. I'm no longer work as a professional photographer. I run this group, and that's about as far as I go at the moment. So I'm heading in different directions. So yeah. But yeah, thank you so very much, Neil.
No, honestly, an absolute pleasure. Thank you again for having me. It's been really good.
Oh, we're still recording. Sorry, I'm actually. I'll cut that slightly shorter. I'll cut all our images out. How do I do that?